The night felt unusually quiet when the old woman stretched out her wrinkled hand. In her palm lay a piece of underwear that shimmered like water under moonlight. "When you wear this," the old woman said softly, "your body will become a beauty no one has ever seen." The young woman standing before her, now called Luma, swallowed hard. "Why me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The old woman's eyes glowed faintly. "Because your story is not finished." Welcome to the sweetest African folktale stories, where we bring to you the sweetest folktales to nourish your mind and soul. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications bell so we can grow together, sweet folks. Luma hesitated, staring at the strange cloth. "Is there a price?" she asked. The old woman leaned closer. "There is always a price. Remember this, do not remove it." Before Luma could ask another question, the old woman vanished, dissolving into the darkness like smoke. Luma stood frozen, clutching the underwear. Her heart raced, not with excitement, but fear. Magic was something she heard about during evening fires, not something that belonged to her life. She looked at the sky and whispered, "What are you turning me into?" But no answer came. Only wind moved through the trees. Slowly, she walked back toward her hut, each step heavy with uncertainty. Luma had lived a life full of pain, but this felt different. This felt like standing at the edge of something unknown, something powerful, something dangerous. Luma had never lived an ordinary life. She was born in the small village of Rute, a place where everyone knew everyone, and everyone had something to say. Unfortunately, most of what they said about Luma was unkind. She was thin, almost fragile, like dry branches that could snap with one strong wind. Children whispered when she passed. The women laughed quietly. Men avoided looking at her directly. "Her face looks unfinished," one woman once murmured, thinking Luma could not hear. But she always heard, every word, every laugh, every whisper. Still, Luma kept living quietly. She planted vegetables behind her hut. She fetched water alone. She spoke only when necessary. Yet beneath that quiet life there was a secret her mother revealed while lying on her deathbed. "Listen carefully," her mother whispered, holding Luma's hand tightly. "Any man who marries you will rise into great wealth." Luma cried, "Then why has no one ever loved me?" Her mother smiled sadly. "Because people see with their eyes first, not their hearts." After her mother died, Luma never spoke of the gift again. She did not want a man who came for wealth. She wanted love, real love. But years passed. No one came. Life continued in quiet repetition. Luma woke early, worked, returned home, and spent evenings alone. Sometimes she danced inside her hut where no one could see. She would whisper to herself, maybe one day someone will see me." But hope became heavier with each passing year. Even men desperate for marriage avoided her. One afternoon at the stream, her overheard a group of young men laughing. "If Luma is the last woman alive, I will choose loneliness," one said loudly. The others burst into laughter. Luma froze behind a tree, her chest tight. That night she cried until sleep carried her away. Still, she refused to hate the world. She kept planting, I kept cooking, kept living. She believed love might arrive quietly, the way rain sometimes begins without warning. And then the festival came. The annual Yam Festival, loud drums, bright colors, laughter filling the air. Luma stood at the edge of the celebration like she always did, watching, invisible. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm used to this." But that evening would become the first crack in the life she thought she understood. The drums were loud when a young palm wine tapper began walking toward her. His name was Rin, known in the village for his calm nature and gentle voice. People noticed immediately. "Where is he going?" someone whispered. Luma looked behind her, certain he was walking towards someone else, but he stopped in front of her. "Good evening," Rin said softly. Luma blinked. "You mean me?" Rin smiled. "Yes, you." The simple words felt unreal. They talked awkwardly at first, then longer, then freely. Rin did not rush, he did not stare with pity. He listened, truly listened. "You laugh softly," Rin said at one point. Luma looked surprised. "Most people don't notice when I laugh." Rin shrugged. "I notice." By the time the festival ended, he walked her home. I just want to be sure you are safe, he said. Luma's heart beat strangely, not fear, not confusion, something warmer, something new. That night she lay awake staring at the roof. Why me, she whispered again. But this time the question carried hope. Rain returned the next evening, and the next. He often brought a small calabash of palm wine. Luma brought wooden cups. They sat outside, watching the sky change colors. Tell me something no one knows about you, Rain asked one evening. Luma hesitated. I talk to myself when I'm alone. Rin laughed gently. Then you are never truly alone. Their conversations became the best part of Luma's day. They spoke about childhood, dreams, fears. Sometimes they sat in silence, which felt just as comfortable. You don't look at me like others do, Luma said one night. Rin shook his head. I look at you like someone worth knowing. The words settled deep inside her. Slowly, friendship grew into something neither of them tried to name, until one evening Rin said it plainly. Luma, I want to marry you. She stared at him, stunned. Do you understand what you are saying? Rin nodded. I do. And for the first time, Luma allowed herself to believe love might truly exist for her. Their wedding shocked the entire village. How can he choose her, people whispered openly. This is not ordinary. But Rin ignored the noise. He held Luma's hand everywhere they went. Each time someone mocked her, his grip tightened. I chose you, he reminded her, and Luma smiled more than she ever had before. Happiness felt strange, but beautiful. 2 months later, something unexpected happened. Rin's palm wine business began to grow rapidly. Customers arrived from other villages. Orders increased. Money flowed. This is unbelievable, Rin said one evening, laughing. Luma felt a quiet fear. She knew why. Her secret was working. Soon the villagers noticed. How did he become rich so fast? Then someone remembered Luma's mother's whisper from years ago. The realization spread like fire. Suddenly, the same men who mocked Luma looked at her differently, not with kindness, but desire, greed. Then came the night everything broke. Thunder roared, wind slammed the doors. Luma walked to find Rin gone. No footprints, no struggle, nothing, only silence. Rin, she called into the darkness. No answer. Days passed, weeks. The village whispered. Spirits took him. Jealousy did this. Maybe it is her. Luma refused to believe he was dead. He will return, she repeated, though her voice weakened each day. 2 years passed. Loneliness returned, heavier than before. But this time, something changed. Men began lining up outside her hut. Gifts, goats, yams. Choose me, they begged. Not for love, for wealth. Luma understood. Her blessing had turned her into an opportunity. An opportunity attracts greed faster than kindness. Among the men, one stood out. His name was Daro, a fisherman known for smooth words. Every evening he sat near her hut. I'm not like the others, he said gently. I care about you. He brought roasted fish, small carvings, soft promises. Luma's heart was tired. Tired people want comfort more than certainty. After months, she agreed to marry him. At first, Daro acted loving, attentive, kind. Then his fishing success exploded. Wealth arrived quickly, and just as quickly, his behavior changed. Late nights, distance, silence. One afternoon, the truth spread. Daro had run away with another woman. Luma did not scream this time. She simply sat down and stared at the ground. So this is my life, she whispered. And it did not end there. More men came, more marriages. The pattern repeated. Wealth arrived, love disappeared. Some vanished, some left openly. The village grew afraid. They said, there's something strange about her, they whispered. But greed kept winning over fear. Luma's heart slowly hardened. I am not a woman, she told herself quietly. I am a ladder people climb. She stopped smiling, stopped attending gatherings. Hope became something she remembered, not something she felt. One night, unable to carry the weight anymore, she left the village. I need freedom, she whispered to the empty road. And that was the night she met the old woman. On the forest path, the old woman appeared as if she had been waiting. Child, she said, Beauty has punished you long enough. She offered the shimmering underwear. Wear it when the moon rises. Luma hesitated. Why help me? The old woman replied, because your story must change. She repeated the warning, do not remove it. Then she vanished. Luma returned home with trembling hands. That night, she wore it. Morning arrived and everything changed. When Luma opened her eyes that morning, she immediately felt different. The air against her skin felt lighter, almost unfamiliar. She sat up slowly and stared at her hands, smooth, radiant. Her breath caught. What? She whispered. She rushed to the small mirror hanging on the wall. The reflection staring back was someone she did not recognize. Her face glowed like a sunrise on water. Her body curved with effortless grace. Luma stepped back in shock. This is not me. But it was. Outside, the reaction was instant. A woman dropped her basket. Children froze mid-play. Men stared without blinking. Who is she? Someone asked. Then realization spread like wildfire. It's Luma. The same people who once avoided her now gathered around. Compliments replaced insults, smiles replaced mockery, gifts appeared, proposals followed. Luma walked through the village in silence, hearing the old woman's warning echo inside her mind. Do not remove it. That evening she sat alone, touching her face carefully. Is this what respect looks like? She murmured. Yet something inside her felt uneasy. Beauty had opened doors, but it also changed the way people looked at her. Too quickly, too intensely. Luma understood one thing clearly. The world had not changed. Only her appearance had. And that meant the danger had changed too. Within days, the line of men returned, longer than ever. But this time, their eyes were different. Not greed for wealth alone, but hunger for beauty. Marry me, they begged. I will give you anything. Luma listened quietly. She noticed how easily promises flowed from people who once laughed at her. One evening, she whispered to herself, they did not change, they only changed direction. Among all the men, one stood out, Bako, the wealthiest man in the village of Tavi. He owned land, animals, and the only car for miles. Before her transformation, he had never greeted her once. Now he arrived daily. You deserve a queen's life, he said confidently. I will protect you. Luma studied him carefully. Protection sounded comforting when you had lived unprotected for years. After weeks of persuasion, she agreed to marry him. The wedding was grand. Music, food, crowds. Bako smiled proudly, as if he had won a rare prize. Luma smiled too, but quietly, because deep inside, she still felt the strange weight of the old woman's warning pressing against her thoughts. For 2 months, the marriage seemed peaceful. Bako treated her well. The villagers watched with envy. They said, she finally won. But then, small things began to change. Bako's livestock started dying mysteriously. A land dispute appeared overnight. His business deals collapsed one after another. This is temporary, he said, forcing confidence. But losses continued. Money disappeared. Stress replaced pride. One night, he snapped, pacing the room. This makes no sense. Luma sat quietly, fear rising in her chest. She remembered Rin. She remembered Daro. But this was different. This time, wealth was not increasing, it was vanishing. Within weeks, Bako lost almost everything. The powerful man who once walked with authority now moved with heavy shoulders. Villagers whispered again, but the tone had changed. Not mockery, fear. Her beauty brings destruction, someone said. Luma felt cold inside. She touched her waist where the underwear rested. What have I done? She whispered. Bako's fall became impossible to ignore. One morning, he stood in the market begging for food. The same people who once praised him avoided eye contact. Luma watched from a distance, tears burning her eyes. I didn't mean this, she whispered. But meaning did not stop the consequences. Days later, Bako disappeared. No goodbye, no explanation, just like the others.
The village panic grew stronger. Some called her cursed, others called her dangerous. Yet the line of men never stopped completely. Greed is stubborn. "If I gain wealth first, I will leave before anything happens," one man said boldly. Luma heard everything. Her heart felt heavier than it had ever had. Beauty gave her attention, but attention without truth was another kind of loneliness. That night, she sat alone outside her hut. "I asked for love," she said softly. "Why does everything turn into loss?" The wind moved gently through the trees, offering no answer. Months passed. Luma stopped accepting proposals. She withdrew again, but this time people watched her with distance and caution. Children whispered about curses. The women spoke her name quietly. Men debated risk like gamblers. Luma spent most days inside, thinking, touching the hidden underwear, feeling trapped by something she once believed would save her. One evening she said aloud, "Beauty changed nothing. It only revealed people faster." The realization hurt, because it meant her loneliness was never about her face. It was about the world around her. That night she dreamed of Rin for the first time in years. His voice felt clear. "I chose you," he said in the dream. Luma woke up crying. "If you are alive, come back," she whispered into the darkness. She did not know that the moment she spoke those words, her story was already shifting again. One dusty evening, a stranger entered the village wearing a long white robe. His steps were slow but steady. People stared immediately. Something about his presence felt familiar. Luma heard the murmurs before she saw him. "That man, he looks like—" Her heart began racing without reason. She stepped outside. The stranger moved closer, then he stopped. Their eyes met. The world went silent. "Luma," he said softly. Her knees weakened. "Rin?" The village gasped. He was alive. Luma ran toward him, tears blurring her vision. "I knew it," she cried. Rin held her gently, his hands trembling. "I came back." The moment felt unreal, like hope returning after years of absence. But joy was quickly followed by fear. Luma stepped back slightly. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. Rin frowned. "Why?" She looked down, unable to answer. "Because loving her was never safe." That night, Rin told his story. "Darrow took me," he said quietly. Luma's chest tightened. Rin explained how he was hidden far away, rescued later by hunters, and forced to recover slowly before returning. "I never stopped thinking about you." Luma cried silently. The love she thought she lost had been fighting to return all along. "Then come back home," Rin said gently. Luma shook her head. "Things are different now." Rin stepped closer. "I don't care." She touched her waist, panic rising. "You should care," she whispered, because she knew what would happen. She had seen it too many times. If she accepted him now, the curse would follow, and this time she could not survive watching him fall. The next morning, Luma left the village again. The forest path felt familiar.
Like walking toward truth. "Please appear," she whispered into the trees. The wind shifted. The old woman appeared exactly where she had before. Luma dropped to her knees. "Take it back," she begged. "I don't want this anymore." The old woman watched her calmly. "Why?" Luma's voice broke. "Because the only man who loved me has returned, and I cannot destroy him." The old woman nodded slowly. "Now you understand." Luma looked up, confused. "Understand what?" The old woman stepped closer. "The gift was never beautiful. It was a revelation." Luma's tears fell faster. "Then please, end it." The old woman pointed gently toward Luma's waist. "Your choice has finally become clear." The old woman's voice softened as the forest grew quiet around them. "Your beauty was never meant to reward you," she said. "It was meant to reveal hearts." Luma wiped her tears, confused. "Reveal what?" The old woman replied, "Those who came for greed received loss. Those who came without love faced the truth of themselves. Luma's hands trembled. "Then why give it to me?" The old woman smiled faintly. "Because you kept asking why love avoided you. Now you have seen, it was never you." Luma felt something inside her loosen, like a knot that had lived in her chest for years. "So what happens now?" she asked quietly. The old woman stepped back and spoke clearly. "Go home, remove the underwear, burn it tonight. The lesson is complete." Luma hesitated. "Will I lose everything?" The old woman shook her head. "You will lose the illusion. That is different." The wind moved again, and the old woman began fading. "Remember," her voice echoed, "real love recognized you before beauty did." Then she was gone. Luma stood alone, breathing slowly. Fear was still there, but this time it was mixed with relief. For the first time since the transformation, she felt control return to her story. Luma ran home as the sky darkened, her heart beating with urgency. Inside her hut, she stood still for a long moment. Her hands hovered at her waist. "This ends tonight," she whispered. Carefully, she removed the shimmering underwear. The moment it left her body, she felt warmth fade, not painfully, but gently, like light dimming at sunset. She stared at the cloth one last time. "You changed everything," she said quietly. Then she threw it into the fire. Flames swallowed it instantly. A soft wave moved through her body. Her glowing skin faded, her curves softened, the face the village once mocked returned. Luma touched her cheeks slowly. No panic, no regret, only calm. She stepped outside. The night air felt honest. Rin stood a few steps away, as if he had been waiting all along. He looked at her, truly looked, and smiled the same way he had years ago. Nothing in his expression changed. Luma's eyes filled with tears. "I am not the woman you saw before," she said softly. Rin shook his head. "You are exactly the woman I chose." They stood in silence for a moment that felt larger than all the years they had lost. "I was afraid," Luma admitted. "I thought loving you would destroy you." Rin stepped closer. "Loving you saved me." She searched his face carefully, looking for doubt, hesitation, anything, but there was none, only certainty. "No wealth?" she asked quietly. Rin smiled. "We will build what we need." Luma exhaled slowly, a breath she felt she had been holding her entire life. The next few days were simple. No grand announcement, no celebration, just two people choosing each other again. The village watched, confused at first. Some expected Rin to leave, some waited for something strange to happen. Nothing did. Luma returned to her small routines, planting, cooking, laughing quietly again. But this time she was not invisible, not because of beauty, because she no longer carried the weight of proving her worth. One evening, sitting beside Rin under the fading sky, she asked, "Why did you come back?" Rin answered without hesitation, "Because love unfinished always finds its way home." Luma leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling something she had searched for through every version of her life: peace. Life did not transform into perfection overnight, but it became real, and that was enough. Luma and Rin rebuilt their days slowly, one routine at a time. They woke before sunrise, worked side by side, and shared quiet meals without the pressure of proving anything to anyone. Some villagers remained distant, unsure what to believe after everything they had witnessed. Others softened. One afternoon at the stream, a woman who once mocked Luma approached awkwardly. "You look peaceful," she said. Luma smiled gently. "I am learning." That answer spread through the village faster than gossip. People began noticing something they had ignored before. Luma's kindness had never changed, only their perception had. Rin's business grew again, but slowly this time, naturally, without sudden miracles. One evening he laughed and said, "This growth feels different." Luma nodded, "Because it belongs to you."
The fear that once followed her name started fading, replaced by curiosity, then quiet respect. Not everyone changed, but enough did, and for Luma, that was more than she ever expected. Seasons passed. The story of Luma slowly turned into a lesson told near evening fires. Not a story about beauty, but of intention. Mothers told their daughters, "Do not measure yourself by eyes that cannot see you." Elders told young men, "Greed always collects its price." Sometimes travelers arrived asking to see the woman whose life had carried mystery. Luma would greet them simply, offering water like any other host. She never explained the magic. She no longer needed to. One night, under the moonlight, she asked Rin quietly, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I kept it?" Rin thought for a moment before answering, "Then you might never know that you are already enough." Luma smiled, a deep calm settling in her chest. For years, she believed love would arrive after she changed. Now she understood the right love had recognized her long before she ever changed at all. Many years later, Luma stood at the same forest path where everything once shifted. The air felt familiar, but she was no longer the woman walking there carrying questions. She carried understanding now. "Thank you," she whispered into the quiet trees, not just to the old woman, but to every version of herself that survived confusion, rejection, hope, and loss. She turned back toward the village where Rin waited, where ordinary life continued. Laughter, work, small arguments, shared dreams. Nothing magical, yet everything meaningful. As she walked home, she realized the truth that had taken her years to accept. Beauty fades, wealth moves, people change, but the courage to remain soft in a hard world is its own rare kind of power. That night, sitting beside Rin under a sky full of quiet stars, Luma smiled without fear, without doubt, without the need to become anything else. Her story did not end with transformation. It ended with recognition that she had always been worthy of love exactly as she was. Thank you for watching, sweet folks. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our sweet and captivating stories we have in store for you on this channel. Also, tell us what you've learned and where you're watching from in the comment section. Your voice matters to us here. Stay and enjoy other stories on this channel. We remain the #1 sweetest African folktales. Love you, sweet folks.